hasn't been the funnest time being on YouTube. How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm fine. But that's because I don't read the comments on YouTube. Morgan, and this is the Paul and Morgan show. Alright, so when we got married, you were 26.
I was.
You were a virgin.
Right, 26-year-old virgin.
I was your first kiss.
On the lips.
Yes. I care about what people think about you, and I'm like, God, you don't even know. I really, really care too much. We are not looking for fame and money. Well, let's not beat around the bush. We voted for Trump. Satan sucks, and he hates marriages, and he hates godly marriages, and he does not want to see us succeed. That you have the authority to crush any negative thought in your mind. The idea that like fighting in a marriage is unhealthy, I think is so silly.
YouTube, it's too hard. Morgan and I are trying to make videos on, life advice, and we can't even film a video without getting in a fight.
That's why I love you.
That's why I love you.
Hello and welcome to Unreligiously. I am so excited about today's video, if you guys can't tell. I've made a lot of videos on Paul and Morgan in the past, but each of the videos are responding to a specific topic. For example, going through their videos and talking about the presence of potential spiritual abuse, going through and talking about the health concerns. What I haven't done is gone through and actually just done a deep dive on Paul and Morgan, something that is holistic, is going to give you guys a lot of the background information that you need and probably wouldn't hear about. A lot of this goes back to before marriage, how they were raised, but I think it's all really important context to understand what's going on with them today and what the criticism really is. Today's video is going to be a long one, so we're just going to dive right in and start out with their early years and their own personal testimonies. This is before Paul and Morgan ever get married, ever meet each other. This is truly their childhood and their young years.
My story, I grew up in a Christian home. I was actually homeschooled. My mom and dad both hung on to very Christian values, morals. They trained us up in the Bible. Because my upbringing protected me from a lot of stuff, a lot of crap.
This part really stood out to me. I think something that I've known for a while, but maybe the broader community doesn't really know because I don't see it mentioned enough, is that Paul himself homeschooled growing up. He grew up as a homeschool evangelical Christian, which is the same as me. And so I do feel that I see a lot of how that upbringing impacts how they believe now. There's a lot of copy and pasting happening of their values, of their morals, of the way that they talk about things. All of that mirrors exactly my homeschool Christian upbringing. Obviously not all of it, because Paul and Morgan get into some weirder personal stuff, but this is something that I don't want to just gloss over, you guys. Keep this in mind. Yeah, he has a homeschool education, so this isn't to dog a homeschool education. I have one, but I do just want to point out that this can vary wildly on the quality. I've made a few videos about homeschooling, and I can talk more about that if you guys would like, but the quality really varies based on the household, based on the child, based on how much effort is put in. There's so much that goes into homeschooling and doing it well, and so I just want to really make the point here and make sure that you guys understand where Paul is really coming from, because even though it's a small sentence, I think it makes a big impact.
Got into my teen years. I was doing my thing. I was a good kid. But yeah, you get to that age, 13, 14, you start getting curious about things, and I was no exception. 14 years old. I remember the night very clearly, because it was the night that changed things for me. Laying in bed, I was actually having my Bible open, and the Holy Spirit hit me in a very deep, emotional way that cut me to the heart. He spoke to me in that moment. He convicted my heart of my selfishness. When I realized that so deeply, it was like, oh God, I'm so sorry. But praise God again, like he just had grace for me that I didn't get into a lot of the crap. I stayed away from drugs. I stayed away from relationships with girls that I felt like, okay, this could lead to a bad place, to doing sexual things that I don't want. So I just stayed clear of that, okay? Graduated from college, went out to Los Angeles. I was like, I just want to be where everything's going on. People discouraged me and said, Paul, LA, it's just a place of darkness, so much just carnal sensuality there. I was set on going. The Lord took care of me.
So that's Paul's testimony and some of his early belief system. It's keeping it brief, but he personally made the decision around age 13, which is pretty common. It's when you start to think more about existential stuff. And he made that commitment then and stayed pure by the Christian standards. He didn't have sex before marriage. He has held his conservative values his entire life, and he homeschooled. So that is a very brief introduction to Paul, and now I want to give you guys that same introduction to Morgan to hear more about her testimony, to see what kind of a background she's coming from. It's clear that Paul has been steeped in this environment since his birth, and it makes sense why he is the way that he is today.
Growing up, I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were solid human beings, are solid human beings. 5th grade, 6th grade, and 7th grade, I had some pretty traumatic bullying experiences. Yeah, just girls didn't really like me, and guys thought that I was like a little toy to them.
Here we see that Morgan grew up in a Christian environment as well, but Morgan's testimony includes a lot more information about her mental health and a lot of hurt that she's experienced. I think it's interesting that she chooses to focus on this and to say that boys would just treat her like a little plaything. I personally have not seen evidence of that in the stories that she told. She did have premarital sex, which we'll get to later on, but that was within a 3-year-long relationship, and so I don't believe that that's really men treating her like a plaything, but obviously I wasn't in that relationship, so I'll let Morgan talk a little bit more about her own experience.
That sent me into basically my anxiety issues. So the end of 7th grade, I was pulled out of public middle school, and my parents decided to homeschool me because of all the bullying. That's really when I found the Lord.
Both Paul and Morgan homeschooled. Yes, Morgan didn't homeschool from the very beginning like Paul, and I will say there's a difference when you decide to homeschool at 7th grade versus starting in elementary school and going all the way through. There is a difference in how that would impact you, but this is where she found God, and I'm not surprised. Homeschooling, whether you like it or not, you just can't replicate being with 100 other kids 8 hours a day. You just can't. We were incredibly socially active as homeschoolers. I genuinely do not think that my parents possibly could have done more to enroll us in things, get us to see other kids. We still did not socialize as much as our friends that were in public school. That's just part of it. And so part of that isolation may have been Morgan reaching out to God and finding religion more. But I think that it's notable that this hurt, this major life shift, this big change is kind of what fueled this intensity behind her religious beliefs.
Built a relationship with him because other than my family, I didn't have any friends. I started to get to know who God was. The Lord met me in that circumstance and became my best friend. I started volunteering at the church that I went to when I was 13. For about 5 years, I basically lived at that church, and that's where I spent most of my high school life. I felt very close to the Lord. I felt like I was living a good, godly life and was, doing my best to obey the Lord. When I was 17, I started praying to God and saying, Lord, the next guy you bring me, whether it's tomorrow or in 17 years, that's gonna be the guy that I'm gonna marry. So that same year of me being 17 in the summer, I met a guy and we became official boyfriend and girlfriend and whatever. And I went into that relationship thinking that the Lord brought this guy to me.
I know that people are probably thinking, especially my Christian audience, that, you can't just tell God that the next guy you meet is going to be your husband. But there definitely is a line of thinking when you're raised in this way to say, you know what, I'm going to wait for the next guy, and I'm going to trust you, God, that that is my husband. I'm going to wait, and whoever you bring to me, I'll know that's the one. There is this like line of thinking where it doesn't feel so crazy, and I think that this is a way in which Morgan is kind of a victim of growing up in this belief. I think that, you know, Morgan does blame herself a lot. As we go through this video, keep an eye on that. It seems like Morgan does blame herself for things that are really not her fault. And yes, we all do have to make our own decisions, and we're all accountable for those decisions, but religion can significantly confuse your choices. It can definitely make you make choices that you wouldn't otherwise make if you feel like you're doing what God has called you to do or that you're doing the right thing. It might even make you hold on to the relationship longer thinking, well, this is the person God brought to me. All of that to be said, let's have compassion for Morgan here. I don't think that any of you guys are going to have an issue with it since she doesn't do anything wrong. But I do just want to bring up the plaything comment that she made earlier, that boys treated her like a plaything. This seems to be the really only experience that she shared with men other than Paul. So I would assume that this is what she's talking about since she's still in her teen years here. Let me know if you think that that is in line with how she characterized it, but to me it does just kind of seem like a typical young relationship that is influenced by very strong religious views or is just kind of confused or muddled by religious belief.
I was the one leading. I was the one trying to make it a priority that God was at the center of our relationship. Like, I was the one saying, let's go to church, let's go to Bible study, let's like pray together. I actually baptized this guy. I was forcing God down this guy's poor throat. So we broke up, and I felt my spirit kind of tell me, move on, live your life, like don't worry about guys right now and focus on the Lord. About a week later, after we broke up, we got back together. Just because you met a guy and you think he's cute and you guys have fun together doesn't mean that God brought him to you to get married. So after we got back together, I kind of backed off a little bit about the whole like going to church together, praying together for a little while, and then I kind of went full force again. I don't know if I ever truly accepted him for who he was, and we started living in sin. We started doing things that we absolutely should not have been doing.
What hurts my heart for Morgan is the way that she tells this story, and when I think about, you know, the difference in which I might tell my early dating stories if I were a Christian, and for me, I don't mean this in any kind of offensive way, but for me, there is so much freedom in being able to look back on a past relationship and go, I was young, they were young, but what freedom for me as a secular person to be able to look back now and go, I was young and dumb. Do I have to take accountability to a degree, right, for maybe missing red flags and stuff like that? Yes, I do have to take accountability for that. There are certainly things that at 21 years old, that at 29, like, I've matured, right? I've grown, I've matured. But I can look at it like that. I don't have to look back on those situations and go, God, I was just in the muck. I was living in sin, and that's why the relationship was never blessed. Or maybe I deserve to get cheated on because I was living in sin and God didn't want me to do that. Or, you know, to look back on the young men in those situations and have no nuance and just be like they were sinful and they were not treating me like a young, whatever. It's like, I can look back and go, yeah, they didn't treat me respectfully and how they should have, right? At the same time, there's nuance in every situation. I can look back and like have this own personal nuance. I can give myself grace because I've grown. I can give them grace because I don't know where they're at in life now, but I'm assuming that they're not the same people that they were. However, you know, X amount of years ago. And for Morgan, it's like she has to look back at it with such heaviness, and that has to carry a lot of weight. To look back at a past, you know, for her, when she's saying I was living in sin, That's a huge mistake. That's a gift that she handed away from Paul. For her to be sexually active, that's something she took away, in her view, from her future spouse. So that carries a lot of spiritual weight. Yes, God can forgive. Yes, God can redeem. But when you look back at those memories, it's heavy. It's not nice. And for most of us, you probably, like 98% of people do have premarital sex. So for the not 2% of my viewers, but for the 98% of you who did or have had premarital sex, imagine having to look back on those relationships or those situations, and instead of just kind of being like, God, I was stupid and young, or just being like, yeah, it was a 3-year relationship and I was in love, and like move on. You don't have to attach dirtiness or this heaviness or this spiritual weight to it. And I'm not saying that there's never a place for that, but Morgan was a 17-year-old, starting out, who was in a 3-year-long relationship. She was in love and she was confused. She, maybe in hindsight, can look back and go, the Lord nudged me. I used to say things like that. I'd be like, in hindsight, I can see where the Lord was trying to... That's actually just hindsight. It's actually just looking back and going, oh, that makes sense. That, in the future, that'll tip me off a little bit more. It's just learning and growing. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. I've spent 4 minutes on this. But just think back about your own dating histories. I have dating history, like I said, that could be heavy. I could look back on it and be like, I don't know, like regretful or ashamed of how these people treated me, or maybe how long I stayed in one of the relationships. There's ways that you can look back and be, but I have the freedom to not do that. I can look back and choose how I view it, and I think that I view it accurately for both parties in all of the situations, which is that we were young, we learned, we grew, we made mistakes, some of us bigger than others, It doesn't, I hope that they're not still thinking about our relationships, because I'm not, and I don't want them to either, right? So anyway, back into Morgan.
And, God was no longer a part of our relationship at all. On the outside, I was putting on a show of, I'm living this godly life, I don't make mistakes, I have this perfect walk with the Lord, so does my boyfriend, and we're solid, godly people. I was living a complete lie. After 3.5 years of being in the relationship with this guy, I wake up one morning and the Lord tells me, Morgan, it's time to end this. And for the first time, I heard it and I was just like, yeah, this is not my husband, and shame on me for trying to force something that was not right.
Again, it's subtle, and I'll keep it short, but it's just the self-shaming that hurts me for Morgan, because you can tell. It's just like, girl, you were in high school. You were in high school, and it's okay, and it's okay. It's just okay. And it makes me feel bad that she is carrying this around with her, because I remember what it feels like to have guilt, a huge amount of guilt for things that now I look back and I go, I really didn't do anything wrong, or that was a learning lesson and I should have looked at that and gone, yeah, I should learn from that, but I didn't need to go into a state of, lifelong repentance where every time I think of that memory, I feel like I have to feel this intense guilt and weight and focus on how God has brought me away from, instead it's I can just be like, I was 21. That really is all that it was.
That night, I called my boyfriend over and I broke up with him and I said my goodbyes and I never talked to him again. I was able to look back on that about 6 months after it all happened, and I saw where my depression started. I saw where my anxiety got even worse. I saw where suicidal thoughts started attacking me. And basically, it was the moment I started doing things I should not be doing with that guy.
I don't really know what she's suggesting here. Is she trying to say that, she exposed herself to spiritual warfare because she was living in sin? Is she trying to say... I don't know what she's trying to say, actually.
from August to October, I kind of had like this like freedom. Yes, I had this freedom because I was single. I finally told my mom everything. I just got it all out there, and that was like so freeing for me. I really struggled still, like, I don't know, I was still kind of angry at God that he let me go 3.5 years in that relationship.
I think it can be easy to get confused, especially when you feel so much shame about something like premarital sex. I can see why, because she's kind of, it's not like she's doing this, it's how she's been conditioned to do it, but it's blown up so much in her mind as such a big deal, such a dark thing, that it removed God entirely from their relationship, that it caused like mental health issues for her, panic attacks, it caused this darkness. I can't obviously say that that's not true for Morgan. I don't know the ways of God if he exists, but so many people have premarital sex and they're not having sudden bouts of anxiety and severe depression and they're not. This just isn't a real thing. So I'm not sure, once again, what she's kind of implying, but I think what's important about it, and the reason that I decided to include it as a clip, is that you can see how they assign a lot of heaviness and weight to things that are normal in life. You can see how that is confusing to her. First, it confused Morgan to stay in this relationship thinking that this was her husband. But now looking back, you can see this confusion thinking that these mental health issues started when she started having premarital sex. But we already know from her story that they started happening around the time of the bullying and around the time of homeschooling. So that is around the time actually that she found God, which is around the time that these problems started. So I'm not trying to make the conclusion here that God is the problem. I'm not at all. But I also don't think it's the relationship. And I think that this confusion, the way that religion can confuse you and maybe make you assign too much weight to one specific event or mistake or life choice than you should, I think that's what we're seeing here with Morgan. Those are the most important portions of their testimony videos to give you context. They both also did talk about what their early kind of education or like what the viewpoint of their families was around sex, what they were taught about it. And I want to share that with you as part of this early life before they ever meet each other stage so that you can really see where this starts, because it starts before they ever meet each other.
I was born and raised a Christian. I was always taught to save sex for marriage. My mom and dad both taught me that very strongly. My mom very much ingrained that into my brain. So I grew up with somewhat of a fear of, okay, wow, if I have sex before marriage, 1, I'm gonna go to hell. 2, I'm gonna have a baby. 3, my parents are probably gonna disown me, which is not anything they ever said. I just kind of assumed that they were going to disown me if I had sex before marriage and they found out. As I became a teenager and whatnot, I did my own research in the Word and reading these books on dating and just marriage and whatnot. I came to my own conclusion of, yeah, I want to save sex for marriage.
What a terrifying way to start out a sexual relationship. And you can see right away where this shame is coming from and how her upbringing has affected her. I'll let her continue, but I don't know. It's like when they say it out loud in some of these videos, it's surprising to me that they're not acting, or that you just would think when they hear themselves out loud and when they edit, they would, I don't know, maybe just have more compassion for themselves even, or I don't want to say put some of this together because it's, I don't know. It's sad. And to hear more about Paul's upbringing, let's just show you Paul's own mother in a hot tub talking about dating and engagement boundaries herself.
Dating boundaries.
This is something I was young once. How do you know? Before you're engaged, you should not even touch the guy or girl you're considering marrying.
Whoa!
Yeah, because you wait until you're engaged, and at that point, you put up boundaries. I would not go any further than holding hands, a side hug, and a kiss on the cheek. That's when you're engaged.
Obviously, this is all giving you context before Paul and Morgan meet each other. And before they met each other, they had pretty big dreams.
Children's adventure fantasy novel. Get this. 2 unlikely elf orphans have to save their village from monsters. There it is. I'm here in my old classroom. I forgot how much I miss just being around young people and seeing what they're drawing and what kind of books they're reading, seeing the light bulbs coming on. Substitute teaching went great. We got a big day ahead of us. I'm off to a modeling gig for Valvoline. Hey, yeah, I'll fix your car right up.
So that's Paul. He went to hair school and was a hairdresser, but then he also was a substitute teacher, had big dreams of writing children's books, actually invented a children's show called The Polly Show, which I will not curse your screens with, and then he also was a model. He did so many different things, and it's clear to me from the beginning that Paul is somebody that wants to be leading. He wants to be in charge, and he wants the spotlight. From an early age, those were his big dreams, and this YouTube channel, really, we'll get into it later, but it's his baby, and it makes sense to me that Paul, with such big dreams of fame and wanting to be on stage, why this YouTube channel would feel like a natural next step for them. But for now, we're still in the time before they met, so let's get into Morgan's big dreams. Morgan wanted to be a singer.
I have been singing music since I was a very, very little child. So when it starts to get really interesting was I was 19. I had been posting cover videos, like cover songs. Like I would take an Adele song and I would sing it and then I'd post it on YouTube. One random day, I think I was at work. I was working as a secretary and I got an email saying that someone commented on my video. It said, "Hey, I'm blah blah from Indie House and we want to work with you. Will you contact us? We'd love to sign you." I got on my Instagram account and I had a message from Indie House. That was the name of the label. And really want to get into contact with you. Would you be able to Skype us? And I said, hey, like, what's up? And so they sent back an email basically saying, we're starting something called You Idol, where we take artists and we take the freshest, biggest pop songs of the time right now and we have them sing those, we make music videos and we upload them to YouTube. Ended up Skyping and it seemed very legit. We wanna sign you, we wanna fly you down to Miami and record some songs, film some videos, get them up on YouTube. We've got a plan. After our Skype call, about a week or two later, I think, I flew to Miami. They flew me out there. I signed a contract. They picked me up from the airport and took me to the studio. It was such a exhilarating, a fun time.
These were Morgan's big dreams and they could have kept going, but then she met Paul, and I'll let her finish her story here. And then this is where we really get into where Paul and Morgan become the Paul and Morgan show.
I started dating Paul. I flew to Miami and was there for I think like 2 weeks. And I was telling the producers about Paul and was like, yeah, I'm in a relationship now and he's a great guy, la la la, like, I think I'm gonna marry this guy. And they were like, whoa, what? You think you're gonna marry this guy? And I was like, yeah, I think so, like, I think he's the one. And they're like, why would you want to do that? I wanted me single because that's what sells. So I came back from a trip to Miami and a few days later Paul proposed, and my producer called me a day or two after we got engaged and he was like, hey, I saw that you ended up getting engaged, that's cool, I guess, but I think we're actually gonna stop working with you.
So that was the end of Morgan's music career, but we do have to back up a little bit. How did Paul and Morgan actually meet? Let's go back to their early dating life because there's a lot to unpack in there.
I'm working at a restaurant at the time, and some girls at the restaurant say, Paul, you need to try this Tinder app. You'll have a lot of fun with it. Maybe you'll find somebody on there. So then I find this Morgan Holly. Your Tinder said something about snuggling, which actually I was hesitant about. Like, whoa, she's putting it out there that she's ready to snuggle. So I was like, eh.
Right off the bat, meeting someone on Tinder when you are Paul and Morgan's level of religious is kind of crazy to me, but there truly is someone for everyone out there. Obviously, they found each other. It just doesn't feel like the place that they would be looking if they're at that place in their faith, but I mean, it worked for them.
I had seen Paul's Tinder, and in his profile it said, I love God, kids, and writing, or something like that.
Modeling I put as well. I mean, I gotta put that.
I also have to point out Paul making a point that he also included that he was a model. I feel like he loves to bring up those accomplishments as much as possible and also to bury his hairdresser past for some reason. But I digress.
I read that and I looked through his pictures. I was like, okay, yeah, he's kind of cute. And so I messaged him. I was the first one. I messaged him. I was like, hey, I love God too. So there's that.
So there's that.
Like, without warning, on our first day, we walk up and
Hilarious.
like 4 of his friends are just in the bookstore. And I'm like, okay, great. But they were amazing and we had a blast. Paul was jealous because I was laughing at a lot of his friends' jokes and stuff, and he was mad because I was laughing at them and not Paul.
Jealous is kind of an extreme word.
You were jealous.
I think it's really strange that Paul would invite all of his friends to their first date. That feels like a weird power dynamic. I would personally leave that first date. I wouldn't have stayed. I think that's very odd and just not thoughtful at all to not even ask if that would be appropriate to just show up with them there. But I'll let them continue and show you guys a little bit more of their dating background.
You're gonna be my husband. I really shouldn't have said that. I was like, love you.
She told me that I was going to be her husband before either of us have said we love you. So maybe don't do that.
From bringing his friends to the first date to kind of making snide remarks about her saying that he'd be her husband before they'd get, before they ever had said, I love you, him being like, don't do that. All of that would honestly hurt my feelings if I were her. Maybe I'm just more sensitive than Morgan is, but it just feels like he's very emotionally detached and not as in love. Like, it feels like some strategy game to Paul, and for Morgan, it's an actual relationship. And for him to respond the way that he did when she said that, I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments, but it is upsetting to me. I feel like a lot of the things that they talk about in this relationship, and I understand it's not my relationship, but there's a lot of things that I would just not put up with in a relationship that they exhibit, and I feel like Morgan does deserve to be just uplifted more and encouraged more by her spouse or by her boyfriend.
Don't do this. Don't do what I did. But, hey, it worked out. But, nonetheless, I was like, she did it. You're gonna be my husband. I love you. Really, I'm in love with you. And he sat there and he goes,
I've had a few other women tell me that before.
A few other women.
And I was like,
I just started crying. I was like, what the heck, Paul? You don't say that. And he's like, but I think I love you.
But obviously, whatever Paul was doing worked for Morgan because they ultimately did end up getting engaged. Paul popped the question and Morgan said yes.
And I said, babe, I'm gonna read one chapter.
okay, so he goes and he looks through, and this is on the bookshelf with all these other kid books. And he's like, oh, this is one of my favorites. And he picks out
An old copy of Winnie the Pooh. And that's the book that I had tinkered with and gotten ready. So I pull it out. Chris is in the corner kind of acting like a creepy old man with his
and I
shirt
totally
up like
saw
this.
him. I didn't recognize him at all.
I sit Morgan down in the spot Chris and I had agreed upon for the good pictures. And I'm sitting there like this. She's ticked. I'm literally sitting like this. I wouldn't look at Paul. I wouldn't look at the book. Right, guys? Can you sympathize with me a little bit? Can you give me a little pat on the back that I was able to stick with this and not fall to pieces?
I open up the book.
And I'm just like,
in her state of mind, she was not about to pick up on any of my clues. I start reading. We get through page 1. She's not enjoying it. Page 3, and this is where it gets good. We flip over to page 4. I wrote down in my neatest handwriting, right in the middle, I said, just then, 4 words popped into Pooh's head. I love you, M.
And I'm still like this, and Paul like nudges me and was like, look at that. Nothing made sense.
He asked me, he was like, can you read this next page?
I had her read this. I had her read this.
I'm like, Paul, I don't want to read. And he was like, babe, just want this one page. And I was like, ugh. So I was
She gets to this part.
Ain't nobody in the world but you and I, Pooh mumbled to the wind.
She reads her favorite song lyrics
I was like,
in a Winnie the Pooh book.
all I said was, that's cute.
She says that's cute.
All
And
right.
then he goes, can you turn the page?
I had her turn the page.
Like,
So by this time, Chris is suddenly right in the middle, like a paparazzi.
I got down on my knee and I said, crying a little bit. I said, Morgan, Renee, Holly. I said your middle name.
Okay, yeah.
Will you marry me?
And that was that. After only 4 months of dating, they were engaged and they were soon to be married. And their early married life did not start off much easier than their dating life, which again was short.
the doors close for the bride to get ready to come out. We start walking down the aisle. I'm feeling good. Paul's bawling like a baby.
Their early marriage started off with foreshadowing. I'll let them tell the story of their wedding day themselves, but I think that it was a gut feeling, if you will.
So she's walking down the aisle, she gets to me, Morgan and I come, we decided beforehand we're gonna say our own vows, and this is where it gets really spicy.
I can't leave our family, but love you well in my own strength. I'm too weak and too selfish.
Somebody hold her.
Despite Morgan throwing up in the middle of Paul's vows, which valid, Morgan and Paul continue to get married and live a life together. And I'm going to show you guys some clips of their early marriage because I want to just show you how happy they seemed in comparison to the later videos I'm going to show you. It's pretty jarring. And keep in mind, there's already a lot of issues here. We've already talked about how they were raised and Morgan, having premarital sex, marrying Paul, who was a virgin, them kind of having these really high standards for marriage and each other in their walk with God. We've already talked about all of these initial problems, but yeah, here they at least seem kind of happy. As you'll come to find out, there were a lot of problems during this time too, but just keep an eye on the presentation in these videos, how happy they seem now, because that will change.
Let me take this one. I know how to handle this. Hello, ma'am.
1 second. Ate a grape and then he goes crazy. You can't eat grapes, it's bad.
Love it. What do you think of New York City, Morgan?
I think it's crazy and it has a little smell.
It's kind of like a mixture of roast sausages.
And poop.
Here we go, bus rides.
Da-da-da! Oh, he's eating. I don't want to bother him. This is Ricky Ticky Tabby.
Ricky Ticky, come say hi to your YouTube family.
These didn't last long. As you see, it's a short compilation. I will also note here that they had a ferret named Ricky, and then they also had a dog throughout it, and now those both have just disappeared. We haven't heard about them. So I don't know if they just got these pets and then got rid of them or what happened there, but they make short, brief appearances where they show them a ton, and then they kind of mysteriously go away. Here, we kind of end this blissful unity stage and we go into more of their marital problems, their early marital struggles.
The first biggest lie that we have kind of realized is not true. It's really easy. It's gonna be so easy. If you love them, it's gonna be really easy. And if you prepare, if you pray a bunch, if you go to groups on how to be a better husband or how to be a better wife, it's just gonna end up being super easy.
Marriage is a breeze.
Yeah, which, don't get me wrong, you guys. Preparing, praying, going to groups on how to become a better husband or wife, if those exist, are great and absolutely are going to help your marriage for sure.
In some couples' marriages, maybe their personalities, maybe their maturity, it is going to make it easier to be married early on in marriage. But I think what we've seen, and just, well, again, what we're observing from people, from couples around us, marriage, especially early on, is not going to be a breeze cake of easiness.
Before I got married, I was naive and thought, like, okay, like, I know marriage isn't going to be super easy, but like, I think for me, it'll be easier because I've been praying about this. I've been wanting this my whole life. So once I have it, like, I'll be just so grateful for it and it'll be super easy.
It's quite a different tone, isn't it? We talk about videos or Instagram posts like this from time to time on my channel where Christians will get married and then talk about how hard it is in the name of being honest and real and almost like de-influencing you from the idea of marriage and to, I don't know, have more fun with your singleness because they're having a terrible time. And it is quite a tone shift from the previous compilation of happy early marriage videos that I showed you. Paul and Morgan do talk a lot more about why their marriage was hard and the issues that go into it. And frankly, props to their faith in this circumstance because I don't think that most marriages would have made it. And if they weren't, you know, believing that it was their spiritual responsibility to stay in the relationship, I don't know how they would have possibly made it as long as they have.
Back up to the day before Valentine's Day. Of course, my mind is going fast. How can I make Morgan happy? So I think to myself, I'm going to go all out and make her a Valentine's Day dinner that she'll love and it'll be just, I'll throw health out the window. This one's yours.
The first thing went through my mind is, why did this take an hour to make?
Later she says, I was expecting crab legs.
Okay, I said that as a joke.
That cut me deep. That I went all out, totally sweet, unhealthy.
It also made me a little upset because I'm like, you think I'm this unhealthy? Like, holy moly, I never eat like this.
I love the intention here, and look, I know that not everyone is a chef, nor is everyone perfect like my fiance is, but I know that if he asked me to wait in our room on Valentine's Day for him to cook us a special meal, I definitely do eat more unhealthy than he does, right? He is so on top of that kind of stuff. I'm not. So he could say, I'm going to put health aside for this meal. I would get excited about that and think, okay, we're going to have like pasta and bread, or maybe we're going to deep fried stuff. You know what I mean? What I wouldn't be picturing is waffles with a fuck ton of whipped cream and sprinkles, and especially when that's like not how I eat or what I eat, and I think I could appreciate it, right? But it's Paul's demeanor that makes me not want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because when she says at the end, you kept saying, you know, well, I threw health out the door, and she's like, this is not how I eat, is this how you... It does feel like a jab at her. Like, if I were to tell my, fiance that I'm making a special meal for him, I take an hour, and he comes downstairs and it's just kale on the plate, because I told him that I was taking health into consideration for him, he might be, envisioning some kind of, like, vegetable lasagna that's awesome, or something that's healthy, but that is something that he would actually eat. And it feels like Paul almost intentionally misses the point from time to time to make a point to Morgan or make her appear ungrateful, but I'll let them get more into it, because these early marital struggles, you guys, honestly, I just picked a few. There are so many to choose from. There's more footage out there. they posted so much during this time of the miscommunications and the difficulties that they were going through. So let me show you another one.
Year into marriage almost, and I was sitting there feeling like, dang, this is hard. I am trying, and it's hard.
Being married humbles you. Get ready for that. Yeah, like Paul was saying, like he thought that he was mature, and he is, but it's like to a whole nother level when you're married. Like, you think you're ready for marriage, and then you get married, and you're like, huh?
There have been times when I've done something or said something to Morgan that's been so hurtful, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's nice knowing that she can't go anywhere.
And that's really the truth, isn't it? When you're in a Christian marriage, you essentially believe that you can't leave unless they cheat on you, they're sexually immoral within the relationship, or if they're like abusive to you. That's not directly even stated in the Bible, but pastors will usually give you a pass if you're experiencing abuse. Those are the really only reasons that are spiritually covered. The general Christian view is that if you're going to get divorced, these are really the only contexts in which you can do that. And yes, they're laughing, but is it a joke? Not really, not to me. I'm not laughing, at least. It's disturbing to me because it is truly, I think, a reason that people get caught in relationships. I said it earlier that I think that if they didn't have this faith backing as a reason that they had to stay in the marriage, I don't think that the marriage would have survived.
You don't wake up every morning, oh, kissy, no, okay?
I wish we did.
And you don't fall asleep all, God love you, no.
I wish we did. I'd like to go to bed snuggling.
We do. Okay, no, we're not putting this in the video.
We need to work on this. Alright, I hear what you're saying.
Just move on.
Most people in the world do not end up with a partner that has an exactly matched sex drive. Not 100% of the time are you going to be wanting intimacy. Especially when they talk about mothers, they might be caring for their infants all day and they're touched out by the end of the day. There might be a period there where you're not matched up. Husband's at work all day if you're with the baby. You know what I'm saying? There are these situations where that can happen. But what you shouldn't do is act the way Paul is acting, saying, we need to work on this. We need to work on this. Acting like it is an issue. I think it is completely okay if you're unhappy with your sex life, whether you think you're having too much or not enough, or intimacy. We could just say your intimate life in general, like he's mentioning cuddling. I think it's totally fine whether you think you're having too much or not enough in your relationship. It's fine to bring it up to your partner in a nice way and say, hey, I have been really missing you lately, and I would love if we could try to make this more of a priority. Is there a reason why maybe you haven't been wanting this? Whatever. Nothing wrong with bringing that up. There's also nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm just not a person that wants this as much as you. I just don't want it as much as you. And the response to that should not be, well, we need to work on this, and making them feel shame and guilt. Especially not bringing it up on camera in a way that would be humiliating to a Christian wife. It's disgusting and disturbing, and I hate to see Morgan be treated this way. It's one thing for a husband and wife to have an argument like this within the privacy of their own home, but another for the husband to bring up the topic on his own, film it, edit it, and choose to publish it in a way that he likely thinks is going to make the wife look bad.
You just act like I never give you any loving. It's fine. We need to move on. It's fine.
We did not literally find any hope or closure to that little scenario.
I can't blame Morgan for her exasperation here, and next, what we're going to be getting into is their channel disputes. The channel disputes really are about Morgan not wanting to film. Morgan makes it clear from the very beginning that this isn't her beast. Paul is the one who wants to record, wants to film, and feels that Morgan should be more supportive by filming herself.
Paul's a little sad, and I'm trying to make him feel better. A lot of the times I get scared of failing or of something not going anywhere, so I back off. I started to lose passion. For me, I don't have a lot of patience for us to like not have a ton of subscribers at the very beginning, or like nothing took off and I was like, what? Like, what's happening? And then, you know, Paul's trying to like keep me motivated, and it's like, it takes time, it takes work, blah blah blah, and I'm like, ugh.
It's definitely, there's been some tension, and where I'm just like, Morgan, we're in this, right? Like, we're gonna stick with this, and to feel like she isn't excited, or like when I say, all right, it's time to film the video, and I feel like I'm pressuring her into filming it because really she doesn't want to. I think, like Morgan said, she struggles sometimes with sticking to stuff. So yeah, she hasn't been, I would say, as supportive or invested as I would wish her to be.
Morgan has trouble sticking to stuff and isn't as invested in the channel as you'd like. That's hurtful words. And if you go back and rewatch that clip, just the disgust on his face while she's talking. She doesn't have to record, dude. She doesn't have to be on your frickin' YouTube channel. It's weird that you're making her, and for you to act like feeling like you're forcing her to do it is a burden on you. Stop forcing her to do it. You can do the YouTube channel yourself. You don't need Morgan's help. But time and time again, we see him pushing her to do it, forcing her to record, and requiring her to be a part of it. Morgan doesn't even want to film. She doesn't want to be doing this, and she's been pressured into it. I feel terrible for Morgan that she's been forced into the spotlight against her will. You might have thought that we were done talking about it, but we're not. Morgan having premarital sex with somebody other than Paul, it keeps coming back up on their channel, and the viewers start to get sick of it. I'm going to show you some of that footage, but once again, it just feels like now that she's married, it is something that should be in the past. It shouldn't be weighing on her this much, and it shouldn't be a topic that her and Paul are talking about all the time. It's definitely not something that if I loved and valued my spouse, would I want them to go online and start talking about the most humiliating thing they've ever done? No, I wouldn't. People do question why Paul doesn't try to protect Morgan more in these videos and why he instead encourages her to share. Part of the criticism is that it would seem that Paul does try to seem like the better person, a better husband than Morgan is a wife, and to kind of get people on his side, but people see straight through it, even though he's the one editing the videos and sharing them. People see through it, and it leaves a bad taste in their mouth.
Anyways, that was when I was 17. I turned 18, and I got a tattoo in an infinity sign. Thought that this was really cool. And it said, "Until marriage." Haters gonna hate. Okay, you guys, like, I know that was so stupid. And then when I was 19, I lost my virginity. That was 2.5 years into my relationship is when I lost my virginity. Because once you start sinning, the next sin doesn't seem as bad. But the virginity, the purity of my body and my heart and my mind was already being lost a while before that. He really was not walking with the Lord. My faith started to shake, and his faith never was really fully there. We just kind of aligned one another and realized, like, what's the big deal? As much as I had convinced myself to believe that this was the guy I was going to marry, 8 months into our relationship, we broke up for like a day or two. And when we got back together, something inside me knew this is not my husband. But I had convinced myself so much that no, I said the next guy that comes into my life, I'm going to marry.
Aside from these videos of Morgan talking about her experience solo, it does feel like Paul tries to find any reason to bring this up. For example, check out him bringing this up, acting like he didn't know Morgan was in the hot tub with him right next to him, while he brings up the fact that she wasn't a virgin before marriage.
So what if you've been dating for like 3 years? Still no physical touching?
Is that even possible? Let's go over to Mom to find out. Oh, and Morgan has joined the conversation.
Yeah, well, you start first, Morgan. Somebody who's been dating 3 years.
For the brother to bring it up, the mom to then say, yeah, Morgan, what about 3 years? And Paul to... They're all, like, why do all of them know that she had sex during her 3 and, like, why do her in-laws know this stuff? It just feels like intentionally humiliating, and it doesn't end there.
I walked around for a while just hating myself, and I was still stuck in this toxic relationship where we were totally living in sin, and I hated myself for it because I knew that it was wrong, and I knew, like, oh, I'm saying I'm sorry to God, but I'm still doing this stuff, like, what the heck? And, like, I was allowing Satan to attack me.
The thing on that note is, I believe the correct definition for repentance is acknowledging your sin and then turning from it.
Some of the consequences that you have when you have sex before marriage are that you're going to have these soul ties that you're going to have to work hard to break. You're going to have these memories that you're going to have to pray hard to get rid of.
This was something that was also taught to me, that if you have premarital sex, when you eventually have sex with your spouse, you'll just be thinking about all of the sex that you had before and, like, picturing that other person, and it'll be really hard for you to just stay focused on, like, the sex with your spouse. Weird. I look back at the adults, plural, who told me that, and I'm like, you're just telling me that the sex prior to your marriage was way better, because that is not a common experience. I've talked with my secular friends, like, what? Like, that is not a consequence of premarital sex or sin. I don't know who is genuinely doing that. I think that's like a Christian fear when you're a virgin, that if your partner isn't a virgin, that they will be thinking of other people the whole time, but that's just really not how it realistically works out. Beyond that, soul ties are not biblical. They're not biblical. And when she said that, the smile that Paul got on his face really disturbs me. I wonder if he didn't teach her that, because, once again, not in the Bible. Nowhere does it say that when you have sex, you form a soul tie that you'll struggle to break.
You sin, if you're living in habitual sin, like, you better be repenting and asking for forgiveness. So you guys cut that out. Humble yourself. Stop living in so much pride. Second, I do think it's appropriate to ask the person that you may end up marrying for forgiveness for a sin you've committed that is probably going to affect them to some level. So if it had been reversed and I had sinned in that area, for me to be like, hey, Morgan, I just want you to know that I have had sex before marriage. I'd like to ask for your forgiveness. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Of course you don't see anything wrong with that, Paul. It's disturbing. I know I keep saying it, but it really is. That might be his viewpoint on it, but the reality is that premarital sex is not going to affect your spouse. It might hurt their ego if they grew up in a way that would lead them down that road. It might make them feel insecure, which is something that they need to get over. I'm not saying that if you're a virgin and you want to marry a virgin, there's anything wrong with that. But if you choose not to, and you know that you're someone that can't handle that, or your insecurities are at a point where you can't, you can't handle it, that's fine. Don't marry that person and then expect them to give you an apology. Or if they do apologize, your response should be, you should not be apologizing for that. It's before I met you. I don't care. I could not picture any of the guys I've dated coming to me and apologizing for their sexual histories. And if they did, that would have felt weird to me. We'll keep watching them. It upsets me. It is upsetting. Morgan starts to talk more about her mental health issues, and this is where the audience starts to get really concerned about her, myself included. When she talks about her mental health journey, it does just not surprise me where she ends up towards the end of this video. If you are dealing with mental health issues, don't be afraid to get on medication. That's all I have to say about that.
I started the journey of getting off of my antidepressants. I've been on them for almost 7 years, and I have finally started the process of getting off of them completely. It never crossed my mind, like, not for a second, of, oh, I'm not trusting God enough, like, by getting on these pills. That, like, never crossed my mind. And I think that was partially the Lord. Like, he led me to my psychiatrist. I fully believe that. She is a God-fearing woman. And I feel like he led me specifically to her because she wasn't all about, like, you're gonna be on these pills for the rest of your life, you're just gonna have to deal with it. Like, she told me in the very beginning, like, Morgan, this is something that you will be able to overcome.
Some people might be able to overcome their mental health issues, but if you have a clinical mental health problem, that is for life, okay? Therapy can help. Therapy can help you get to a point where maybe you can not like require medication to function, but life will probably be always easier with medication, and there is nothing wrong with getting on medication for your mental health. And it drives me insane when I see people, I mean, Morgan will say that there's nothing wrong with being on medication, but with the ultimate goal of trusting in God to take care of your mind so that you can eventually get off. And I think that that is a really dangerous thing to say. It's okay to know that you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life. I'm going to be on medication for the rest of my life. Hallelujah. God bless for that. Thanks, praise be, whatever. I'm happy about that. And if you are somebody that also has to be on medication for the rest of your life, that is okay. And I would not encourage you to try to grapple with it in a spiritual sense. It's not a spiritual problem. It is a physical problem that you need a physical medication for. You can use it in a combination with spiritual practices, but it's not replaceable by that. And Morgan says that this is the best choice for her, so I can respect that. But later on, as we watch her decline, I think that this is a big part of it. I think that Morgan choosing to go off of her mental health medications plays a big role in where we see her today.
It's depression, it's anxiety, it's OCD, it's BPD, it's PTSD, all the mental disorders in the world. I was 18. I was diagnosed with severe depression and borderline personality disorder, which just means that everything, depression, anxiety, stress, all that stuff was taken to a whole nother level. With a person who struggles with BPD, they are missing certain things in their brain that allow them to process things like a normal person would process them. There were times when it was very dark and very debilitating. There were times when I could not get out of bed. I wanted to, I needed to, but I just couldn't. I would be throwing up every month for hours and hours. At one point I was taken to the hospital because I had a crazy panic attack. I'm saying all of this because I just want you guys who are watching this to know that I know what it's like.
And I'm just showing you guys this video because I want you guys to know what Morgan came from and why would you want to go off your medication? Obviously, once again, this is a personal decision for her, but we see her go downhill later on and we don't see an announcement of her ever going back on her medication. Medication is an important tool for a lot of us, and it just breaks my heart to see her being led down this path, potentially partially by Paul. As time goes on, Paul and Morgan start to open up a lot more about their marital problems. I already showed you guys a section detailing their early marital struggles to show you how they kind of start off about petty things. But now that we're in their marriage a few years in, the marriage problems start to really crop up and they share deeply with us. So I'm going to share some of those clips with you now.
First of all, Paul and I highly recommend counseling. A few weeks ago, you guys, we decided that we would catch up on our marriage, see how we're doing, talk about things with my mentors that I go and see weekly.
They're awesome.
Yes. And so we went and we talked about some stuff, and wow, we did not expect to go in there, and I don't know, I didn't have any expectations really. I had no idea how the meeting was going to go.
I don't think we expected to get challenged the way we did.
And we kind of went through basically just writing stuff out for both of us to see just how one another thought, how we viewed being loved by one another, what type of actions we could do for each other to show that we love them, to be selfless. My mentors was all right, Paul, go down through her list that Morgan wrote, and I want you to grade yourself. Give yourself a grade. How do you think that you do in showing Morgan that you're selfless and that you love her? And he was okay, well, blah, blah, blah. I give myself a C minus.
I gave myself a C minus minus.
And then, Morgan, what do you give Paul? And I was like, a D. And then our mentor was like, okay, now I'm gonna grade you just compared on what I've been hearing from you guys the past few sessions and meetings with you, and just from what you've said now. And Paul, I give you an F.
She gave me an F.
An F!
And when I heard that, I was just like, huh?
And then we did the same for Paul's list, and I went through. I gave myself a C, and Paul gave me a C minus. And then my mentor was like, okay, now I'm gonna grade you, and I give you an F.
These are people giving marital advice. These are people who say that they are a step ahead of their secular peers in marriage because of the Lord, and they're both given Fs on their marriage. And later on, they also release a marriage counseling course not too shortly after this video. So it just shocks viewers, but at least in this video, they're getting along and you don't feel the disgusting heaviness along with them like some of the other videos that I'm about to show you.
I'll start. Probably, honestly, the hardest thing for me is how different we are. I guess this maybe ties into like, should you marry somebody that's like you or someone that's the opposite? I'm not going to say either one right now. Maybe we'll make another video for that. It's just tricky. Like, there have been times, to be honest, where I was like, man, this would be so much easier if Morgan was more like me. It's true.
It's hard not to notice the put downs and the narcissistic comments that seem to be coming from Paul consistently throughout these videos. Once again, it might just be that I'm more sensitive than Morgan is, but these would break me down and make me feel bad over time. Watching Paul and Morgan's videos does make me just feel grateful for how often my fiance does build me up and make positive little comments. There's never these little comments that I have to question his motive or if he really loves me or if he really wants to be with me, which I feel like comes up pretty frequently with Paul.
When I find something that I'm passionate about, I expected Morgan to be like, yeah, I'm passionate about it too. What can I do? How can I come alongside you and kick this in the butt and let's do awesome at this? And Morgan is just not a competitive person. So her response is like, oh, great.
I'll support you.
I'll support you. Good luck. And I'm like, what? Let's crush this together. So that's an area we've had to find middle ground. Morgan has had to step up probably beyond her comfort level in a lot of ways because she knows that's what I want, and I've had to lower my standards.
Once again, Paul makes his wants Morgan's problems, whether it's their intimate life and them needing to work on it for Morgan to do more, even though that's not her responsibility, or it's their YouTube channel, which is completely Paul's brainchild and Paul wanting her to step on and take a bigger role. Paul expects Morgan to really be at his beck and call and to, in his words, support, meaning give 100% of her energy, effort, and time into whatever he has going on that day. Next, I want to show you how Valentine's Day went when Morgan planned it. Keep in mind that Paul's big surprise was waffles, and this is how he reacts to Morgan's surprise.
For Paul's gifts.
So she got me a pair of jeans that I've been wanting. I need a new pair of jeans because you guys have probably seen this pair in like every video and picture on Instagram.
It's true. And he's also getting a massage tomorrow, So Polly got me this squishy. Look, I don't know what kind of animal this is, but it's a squishy.
It's pretty cute. I knew she liked that squishy.
It smells so good.
We got the bears that you will be seeing in our videos. We'll find a spot for them.
Yes.
Paul Jr. and Morgan Jr. Doesn't it look exactly like us in bear form? You are going to switch out his undershirt though.
Yes.
Because I would not wear a shirt like that.
He wouldn't. But he would wear the plaid.
The plaid, I do have a plaid shirt I like.
So, we have to be honest with you all. We were headed to our dinner and Paul was acting very strange. And I knew immediately that he was not happy.
Guys, it wasn't that I was not happy. I'm just weird. I don't even know what you'd call it. Like, my emotions when it comes to certain things kind of gets a little off. I don't know what else to say.
Like, Polly, are you sad? Did you not like it? Did you have expectations that I didn't reach? And he was just like, oh, I was just really hoping we were gonna get a massage. I was like,
I wasn't angry, and I wasn't even like, I just, like, my emotions, I couldn't just like hide that. Like, I was sad, my body's just kind of been achy, and I was thinking like, a massage is probably gonna be part, I don't know, and it wasn't just that, it was just like, I literally have like this blockage where I just, like, surprises and stuff, I would just rather be told what's going on, be in the loop, so I can just set my expectations, and when I don't have that, it kind of messes with me, and it did tonight. And I felt awful.
so even though I asked him, I said, I'll tell you what we're gonna do, and he said no.
I
I'd
was a
rather-
doofus for not saying yes.
Yeah. Told him that I was gonna be getting him a massage the next day because I wanted him to get it in the morning and just be like comfy all day, feel good all day.
And I know I sound like a whiny baby. God, it's not like I need a massage. I gotta admit, I would have potentially rather had a massage than Build-A-Bear. I'm just gonna be real with you.
It was part of who he is, and he's learning. And he was able to get out of the funk very fast, and I was happy about that.
To me, this is about the double standard here. If Paul was an understanding and a loving husband who always met Morgan where she was at, I could find compassion in my heart for Paul here and go, yeah, he was disappointed. This is something he's working on. He doesn't do well with surprises, okay? I could get there, but he doesn't have the same grace for Morgan at all. In fact, he tries to make her feel worse in the same type of scenario, whereas Morgan is trying to comfort him. She's literally talking to him in a baby voice and babying him at the beginning of the video, and Paul just doesn't return the same level of care or emotional intelligence. Next, I want to show you another video that details some of their their marital dynamic, where they're playing this game where they put down these cards, they ask a question, they put their drinks they're drinking on, like, agree, disagree, strongly agree, whatever. And just so you know, as context, they write these questions themselves, and the question I'm about to show you, Paul wrote himself. So him acting like he has to think about it, or whatever you might notice in this next clip, he chose the question, he knew what he was doing, he picked the answer, Paul recorded it, he edited the video, and he posted it.
This one says, I've thought/considered divorce.
All right.
Let me think through this. Hold on.
My goodness.
All right. All right.
3, 2, 1. What?
Okay. It's thought. You said thought.
I'm gonna cry.
You said thought. You said thought. All right. Time for some explanation. Time for some explaining. Time for some explaining. Hey, time for some explaining. All right. Hey, come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, she's crying. All right.
I did not expect that.
We had to pick the heaviest one to be 2 off on. I thought you would at least do this one. So our first couple years of marriages, we have shared with you guys of marriage. Go watch some of our older videos. Go watch what marriage is really like. That one. Type it in. Watch it. We were really working through some heavy things. And so, like, I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh, no, absolutely not. That's the beautiful thing about a Christian marriage is, outside of sexual immorality, as Jesus says, there's not a lot of wiggle room there. And it's one of those things that you choose. I'm going to choose to love this person. This person's going to choose to love me. We are committed, and so that brings security. But again, early in the marriage, when things are really tough, sometimes thoughts do come in your head, and you have to say, like, Satan, I rebuke you.
Yes, it was a rough first few years of marriage. I just put strongly disagree because, of course, I like the thought of, like, I think Gabe said this in their video, like, I've thought about, oh no, I think he was talking about cheating, but like how horrible it would be if something happened and we did end up getting a divorce. And like Paul said, really the only biblical reason for divorce is sexual immorality. Very little wiggle room. Obviously there are very intense situations that we're not going to speak into right now, but anywho, in our minds, sexual immorality would be the only reason to even consider divorce. And so I have never considered divorce or thought about divorce, even in like our worst times, hardest times in marriage. Like, that divorce doesn't even cross my mind because I don't consider it an option. And so like I've thought about, like, I'm gonna go stay at my parents for a few days, but like never divorce.
So you know what's funny here is you packed up to go stay at your parents in our first year of marriage at one point, and you never did, right?
I didn't go, no.
But you actually you literally packed your suitcase. I've never done that. So who's really more in the...
You.
Okay.
I've never had a rebuke the devil because of my thoughts.
Come here.
And this feels like my fears were confirmed. Paul is basically saying here that because they're a Christian, they know they can't leave each other unless they cheat on each other or there is abuse. And so, while he might have thought of, divorce in the past, he knows that he can't, or he knows that Morgan can't leave him, he can't leave Morgan. That sounds like a prison to me. That doesn't sound like a loving marriage where you're both happy to be here. And the fact that he chose this question, likely knowing what Morgan's answer would be based off of their own religious beliefs, he chose to say that he had thought about it. And the fact that they were in a fight from that morning that had been kind of unresolved, he knew how Morgan was going to take that, and it just feels mean. It feels cruel. Anybody that's been in a relationship long-term or a marriage knows that you don't threaten breaking up or divorce. That is abusive, and it's just not something that you toss around. You only bring up the D word, divorce, or the B word, breaking up, if you are really going to do it, because the damage that can cause is immeasurable. And what he's doing to him in Morgan's marriage here by filming this moment, causing her to cry and have this emotional reaction, for him to try to appear raw and real, I don't buy any of it. A good husband, if they felt like this was a conversation that needed to be had, they would have that conversation with their spouse in private when the cameras are off. But time and time again, we see that Paul uses the camera as a way to bring these conversations up. These are conversations that they haven't debriefed on, they've never had, and he wants to pull out a camera and film it. He wants the conversation to be filmed and published for the world to see, and to me that is concerning. I would never want to be with someone who wanted to pull out a camera during my worst moments, because I have them just like the rest of us. We are getting a little bit disorganized here because there is a section in this video that I've made specifically talking about parenthood for them, but to jump a little bit ahead, Paul and Morgan do end up having 2 children, and this next video shows you how they handle parenting together, which I still think goes into marital problems or marital bullying.
The most appropriate times, if we're just being real, the most appropriate times to vlog, because it is showing the realities of life rather than like the polished stuff. We just had our drive back from Cleveland, Tennessee to Lexington, Kentucky. And it was horrible.
It was the ride from hell.
It was horrible. primarily, it's just so fascinating to like, when you're in the moment, in the thick of it, it feels horrible. And Morgan, I would like for you to share just your experience there, and I think hopefully there will be some good stuff that comes out of it for our viewers and for us. Take the camera while I take my coat off, baby.
Let's just take a little seat, guys.
It's really concerning how he shoves a camera in her face in this circumstance, and to me, it is the most glaring example of it. This video is literally so disturbing that if you scroll back, you can see for yourselves and see that this is the video that inspired my channel. I have watched Paul and Morgan since the beginning of their channel from back when I was a Christian, and when I saw this video, I was so deeply disturbed by it that I made a YouTube channel to publish a video on it, and that is where all of this began. So that is how disturbing this next video is. Buckle in and make sure to take care of yourselves, because this does, from this point on, get a lot more disturbing. We're no longer in the building up times. We are in current day where the issues are all coming into light and are concerning both their Christian and their secular audiences.
And again, I'm not trying to like put Morgan on the spot. I'm not trying to make something bigger than what it is. But it was so excruciating and gut-wrenching that I feel like we almost have to debrief. Like, I knew that we were going to debrief, but we're vlogging as well, so might as well debrief here. Go, Morgan. Tell them what happened.
There's a lot. Well, guys, so today is Sunday, and I played with my brother in the 4-0, 4 games, and we won 1, lost 3. And as soon, we went from game to game to game to game. There really weren't any breaks.
From the beginning, you could tell that Morgan is not feeling recording. She's standing there, she's making faces, and Paul practically looks giddy. He does not look like he just had the ride from hell. He looks like he's trying to hide a smile. And it's clear when he says that this is the best time to debrief. It's like he's trying to catch Morgan in her worst moments to expose what a bad wife she is, and therefore what an understanding and good husband he is. But any partner knows that you would never want to record and publish a video of your spouse in the middle of a, breakdown, meltdown, or during a time where you should be debriefing privately as a couple. But let's go on.
As soon as I was walking off the court from the last game, my mom was jogging towards me and was like, Luca just shoved something up his nose. We had just lost our last game that was, if we had won that game, we would have made it into the medal round, or the semifinals.
Main draw elimination, yeah.
So that was a bummer, but I didn't even have a chance to process that because I was booking it then to run to go help Luca. So I literally run, cover his nose, and blow in his mouth. A snot bubble thing pops out of his nose.
In a tournament of pickleball, it's emotional because you're just investing so much. It's so high kind of intensity, high energy, and obviously they had hoped for a little better results. So yeah, immediately coming from that to mom mode, it wasn't ideal, and we knew that this was potentially going to happen. It's a lot to juggle, taking 2 babies and do this pickleball tournament stuff. It's stuff that we're having to figure out as we go.
Yeah, so anywho, I jump to that. Then as soon as I'm done with that, I literally turn around and Judah has come over to me in his little walker and grabs onto me and starts yelling at me to get him out of there. So I pick him up and get him out, and just jump into mom mode. Then we find out we're officially done playing, and so we just load up. And we head out, and that was it.
Well, and we had kind of contemplated what the best option was going to be. We knew she was probably going to get done around 6 o'clock, and it was do we stay another night because it's about a 4.5 hour drive, or do we grab some food and then head back to Lexington?
and I wanted to stay the night.
She wanted to stay the night. I
not.
wanted to get back to start our, weekly routine, get back for Monday morning stuff, and also not spend money on another night. And I felt like we weren't going to get home super late, so I felt like it was very doable. She, I think, was thinking more about the kids' sleeping schedules, which I understand.
I just had a very, very gut-wrenching feeling that the drive was not going to go well. I knew that Judah specifically probably wasn't going to get amazing naps, which means we would have an overtired baby who doesn't like being in the car in general for long periods of times, and the timing was going to be super weird. And I was correct. I was freaking right. So the first hour...
Well, and I was optimistic. I knew there was potential for that, and to me, I kind of weighed things. It was going to cost, again, more to stay another night. It was also unloading our stuff all in a hotel. It was just...
Worth it.
I weighed things out. I decided, let's get home. We'll get home at a decent time.
4 hours, Judah.
Hey, you're all about the details,
screamed
though.
and cried. No, it's
No.
part of the story.
Well, yeah. No, right.
And it's why it was a ride from hell.
You're all about the details, so I was going to say, as soon as we left the pickleball place, we ran to get food and then get on the road. We go to Freddy's Burgers. Morgan was in the mood for Freddy's Burgers. We sit there in the line.
For probably 35 minutes.
And it was even in that moment, I just felt like there was, I don't want to over spiritualize it, but just this spiritual heaviness of kind of like, all right, here we go. We can kind of choose mentally and spiritually and emotionally how we're going to react, because it's probably going to be a rough trip home. Like, I just was feeling that.
I was already ticked off.
Like, okay, we'll have to probably drive through a little bit of snow coming down, whatever. Yeah, so then we get on the road, and Judah was, in my mind, I'm thinking he's gonna wear himself out, probably cry some, and then go down. It was
horrible.
And I get it, what you're saying of like something about when a baby starts not just crying, but like scream crying. There are certain times when that's just, as a parent, really, really difficult. You're thinking about how this is not just messing up right here and right now, but the sleep schedules. You're very invested in their sleep schedules. It was just horrible. Like, it was probably the worst car ride of my life, and I just could tell from you, and it was a test in many respects, but I could just sense it. You were not hiding your mental and emotional state. You were having a terrible, terrible time. And I was praying for you under my breath. God gave me, I think, just more grace to endure. And there were little graces throughout the trip, if you look back and you really, really pay attention to it. Do you feel like spiritually, just, is it too soon to even try to go there for you?
I just don't really want to be processing this on camera.
Okay.
Knowing that we have a million haters who are going to make stupid videos about this. About us and our marriage and Morgan sitting here, blah, blah, blah. I'm just mad at myself for like a lot of reasons. I'm mad at myself for doing this pickleball tournament because it's just like not the time in my life to be doing this pickleball tournament stuff. Like, and so like I made it 10 times harder on me and everyone around us because they all had to watch my kids. And like, why did I do the tournament? Like, what the crap was the point of that? And then I feel like I worked really hard to like play well at the tournament, and I just didn't do what I hoped I would do. And it just sucks to lose so much. Like, it just hurts.
Hey, let me ask you this real quick. I appreciate you opening up. Do you feel like there were any moments in the tournament where you were like, wow, like I've actually am playing well and the work I've put in has paid off and I am enjoying it?
Not really. Like, I knew that I was playing well, but it wasn't good enough.
Once again, it feels like Paul is trying to catch her in a bad moment here by asking her a question like, don't you see any positive moment in your game playing at all? Or however he worded that. It just, like, no, dude, she's crying. She's obviously having a breakdown and she needs your support. And you keep trying to walk her towards this narrative that she was sinful in that moment, that she was killing the mood herself, or that she wasn't accepting the grace that God was offering her. And I hate that. I think that that is disgusting.
And so that's just what sucks. But it's like, of course it wasn't good enough. I can't play every day of my life. Like, I'm a mom of 2 kids. These people that we're going up against play so much more than me. So, like, what did I expect? It's just stupid. And so I'm just mad. I'm mad at that. I'm disappointed and ticked off at myself for being so just like down and heavy in the car ride when things were just going insane, and that I couldn't pull it together and have joy in every circumstance.
Is this not disturbing to you guys? Watching her sob and Paul not even comfort her? She later on does say that she's just not the type of person that wants physical comforting, but I don't know. I would at least want my partner in that circumstance to say, hey, it's not just your kids, it's our kids. Or just because you're a mom doesn't mean that you can't play pickleball just like me. Or just something that is comforting in some way, or at least body language that doesn't act like he's an interviewer. After this video of Morgan's breakdown, I'm sure you all can see why I was so disturbed, and disturbed enough to make this entire channel.
After I last spoke with you all, and I have had a wild encounter with the Lord. Like, I haven't had an encounter with the Lord like this in a really long time. I was telling Paul about my encounter with the Lord last night, and after sharing it all with him and us talking, he was like, you don't have to do this, but I think it could be really cool if you share this and we can put this in our vlog. Because my encounter with the Lord was just such a drastically different encounter or slash like experience. Like, it was just the total opposite of my experience in the car with everyone, and just like how I shared all that with you, and just like how negative and down I was. The Lord just used that to just like wreck me, to destroy me. Like, I literally was like brought to my knees, and it just made me realize that like I am wasting my life if I am not living in a heart posture of gratitude every single day of my life. Like, it's a waste. I'm like spitting in the face of everything good that God has given me. I'm spitting in the face of my husband. I'm spitting in the face of my kids and my family, my friends. Like, if I don't live in a heart posture of gratitude, what is the point? I will say that I have been a negative Nancy for a really long time. And I don't think that it was like because I just want to live in a negative headspace. I think part of my struggle is that I want to be real. I want to be raw with you all. I see online like Christians just always like, yay, everything's perfect, God's amazing. And that annoys me. And so I'm like, I'm not going to be like that. Like, I want everyone to know that we go through hard things and it sucks and life can just be really crappy. But like, in the end, God's great. And like, that's just not, I just have fallen into a trap of dangerous waters that I've been living in, maybe even drowning in for a long time now, of not really like living in the extravagant gratitude that I should have every day of my life for the life that God has given me, because it's not guaranteed. I just had to like repent yesterday to the Lord, and I'm gonna repent to you all. And like, I just had to repent for not living in a heart posture of deep gratitude. I think that if I am truly living in a heart posture of gratitude, even the hard things like will seem far lesser. To have an amazing husband, 2 beautiful children, friends and family that love us, that we love. Like, I don't deserve any of that, but I have it. And so every day I just want to live in gratitude towards God and towards the people around me. I want joy to just be so obviously radiating off of me in every situation. And I want the times that I share real, raw, hard moments of life with you all to, like, still you guys just sense, like, man, like, she is going through something so hard, but wow, like, the insane, like, gratitude and, like, joyfulness that she's walking in is just beautiful.
It's clear that Paul walked her down this lane, walked her down this breakdown to reach the point that she's at. And at the end, she does tell him, they have even more videos where she's really diving into her repentance and how she's in a much better place now. But to the audience, we're shocked, we're disturbed, and we're saying, Morgan, hold up, you're not better now. You were better when you were pissed off at him at the beginning of the video when he said we need to record. That was actually more reasonable than where you're at now, where you're saying that by not living in God's beautiful gratitude or magnificent gratefulness or whatever, that then you're spitting in the face of God, your children, your husband, your family, your friends. Think about the weight of guilt and shame that Morgan is carrying throughout this video. It just goes on and on and on. And to add to the load, Morgan had kids. So I know that we've kind of already talked a little bit about parenting in this last video, but I do want to show you guys this section where they talk about Morgan going off of birth control and their journey with parenthood in general, because it is a big part of their story now that they have 2 sons.
I'm not really a huge fan of birth control. She does a little more research and comes to the place where she's like, eh.
After doing some research into birth control, I have found out that it's literally one of the worst pills a woman could ever get on. Several months later, like 8 or 9 months later, I come to Paul and I tell him that I don't think we should be using any type of protection. That I had been talking to God and was telling him, like, God, I trust you with my life, I trust you with my marriage, I trust you. I felt him say, you don't trust me completely. And he revealed a few things to me, and one of them was using protection.
In my heart, I was like, that feels right. That's the right thing to do.
Whether you want to be on birth control or not is completely up to you. I don't care. But believing that you should be off of your mental health medications because of God, and that also you shouldn't be on birth control because of God, I think is ignorant a little bit of the scripture around these things, and it is failing to take charge of your own life and your own health. And as we see with Morgan, she does have a lot of problems with delivering later on, and so birth control is something that could be a really important tool for them. But here it seems like they are just choosing to take the approach that no birth control, no medication, whatever is going to be in their household, and Morgan is just left to deal with all of those consequences herself.
I will say, we are trying for children. We have been letting the Lord just do his thing for the past 3.5 years, and still no child.
After some time of trying, years of dealing with infertility, Morgan and Paul eventually get pregnant, and they decide to make a birth vlog, which does not go the way that they had planned.
Just broke.
You know, when you feel like it's getting more consistent, or just, you know, whatever, I would literally come right now if it made you feel better to have someone there. Whatever you need.
Will be in labor by the 24-hour mark, but that if I'm not, that she suggests me going to sleep, waking up in the morning, and taking a good amount of castor oil. Basically said, we could go to 48 hours and then she would recommend me going into the hospital. Basically, the option is to take castor oil.
We're doing it tonight, 9 o'clock.
Castor oil is pretty intense. Either way, it's gonna be a very long night.
It's like
I definitely can taste the castor oil.
castor oil. She started going diarrhea, and I came up because I heard her throwing up. She was throwing up hard.
I mean, I feel like a different woman after that.
You guys, it's 8:05, September 20th, last night. Didn't go exactly as anticipated.
Nothing really progressed, and so my midwife is here and she's gonna check me for the first time and see kind of what maybe is keeping me from progressing.
What a trooper. What a champ. That is my wife, ladies and gentlemen.
Like 7 centimeters dilated at this point. So we're really starting to get over that, like, non-active labor. I definitely think we're in active labor now.
Morgan was fighting a fever, so we consulted, talked to the midwife, talked through it, checked the temperature several times, and as much as we really didn't want to have to do this, and it's very emotional for Morgan, we are going to the hospital.
You feel like you can hold your baby? We'll help you.
What do you think, baby? You want to wait a little bit?
Paul can hold him until you feel a little better. He's doing great. He's doing so good. Did they weigh him? No, not yet.
Hey, buddy. Hey, Luca. Hey, Luca. Hey, Bubs. Don't cry. I'm not very good at holding babies.
I bet you will. I'm going to put him in the nook of your...
The birth vlog was insane, and Morgan could have died. It's so common with these more fundamentalist Christians and even the, Latter-day Saints to use midwives and try to do home births, which can be so dangerous, particularly for first-time moms who have never given birth before and don't really know how their body is going to respond to it, don't know how it's going to react. And many people in the comments said that if the midwife was properly trained, they would have had her go into the doctor way sooner, even if they were attempting a home birth at first, that she had waited way too long. Because they choose not to use birth control, though, she didn't have very much time to recover before she found out that her period was late.
We're pregnant.
We're pregnant! I wept like a baby.
Morgan wept. One, just being real, like we weren't expecting this.
No, we were not.
She got home and she was sitting on the couch. I was upstairs. I heard her choked up and I came down.
This is where Morgan starts to even more bear the consequences of Paul's poor leadership and him just not being a good teammate. We see him not helping Morgan, not supporting her, and they're living off of their YouTube money, which it would appear they probably make about the same off of YouTube that I make, which is not enough to support yourself, let alone a family. I can just tell you guys right now, it's not enough. Okay? I'm so grateful for what I have. Not enough. They don't post enough to be making the amount of money that they need. And this all, you know, the weight of both of the pregnancies, the tough pregnancies, the weight of going off your mental health meds, of not being on birth control and being able to control your health or your family planning. And then to be a stay-at-home mom, as they believe the Bible tells her to be, but for Paul to choose to derail his career and become a pro pickleball player? That's right. Paul decides to go pro at pickleball, and he gives himself about a 6-month timeline to go pro and be making the big bucks. Obviously, to people who are watching from the outside, even though pickleball is probably an easier, quote, you know, easier sport than, say, like me to go pro in football, the people that go pro in pickleball are still athletes. They still work very, very hard, and it still takes a lot of dedication, time, and training to get there. It's not something that you can just dedicate 6 months to and then start winning massive jackpots to support your family off of and get rich and be like a famous athlete. I don't know how Morgan is really putting up with this or how they're surviving financially, because this, to me, would be upsetting. Paul is out all day, every day, while Morgan is doing all of the filming, which is their income. So she's the breadwinner, and she's also the full-time stay-at-home mom.
Where do we like to walk?
Yeah. Fortunate enough that I live only 5 minutes away from the pickleball courts. So quick zip zap in the mornings and I'm there. No joke, I'm on a mission. The road to pro is paved with challenges.
We're gonna go on a walk, but my stomach is killing me right now. I don't know why. Very uncomfortable.
Pickleball guy.
Half hours of pickleball practice down. Great morning. I'm feeling good, feeling optimistic. I'm realizing how much of a mental game this is.
And he's gonna do dinner on his own, and I'm gonna cook dinner for me and my mom and Luca. I encourage myself to do that.
All right, guys, so I finished up my Bible time reading and then posted my patron encouragement. I went into my local Schlotzsky's. You guys ever been to Schlotzsky's Deli? Sandwiches? We have us apart and us together, and so pushing these two, you know, our two lanes together as one in one vlog. I'm actually looking forward to editing it. I'll probably start editing it today.
Nice.
How do you feel like it's gonna go?
I think it will be a fun time.
What's the most striking to me is how differently their days go. Morgan is running around like a chicken with her head cut off, stressed out and managing the household, where Paul is getting his alone time, his activities, his Bible lessons, gets to eat out lunch. They're living very different lives, and it would be difficult to not feel resentful when you are the main breadwinner and the primary parent, and your husband is doing fuck all at the tennis courts all day. And Morgan does talk about a little bit some resentment with Paul going to play pickleball, which I don't blame her for. I would be right there with her. I genuinely don't understand how in these Christian households we say that the men are the leaders, the providers, and the protectors, but instead we see Morgan doing all of that. And in many cases, we see Christian fathers and Christian husbands not stepping up, doing less than their half of the part and putting the burden on the women. It is really awful to see, and it's something that is a cultural problem, not just a Paul and Morgan problem. But I would say that Paul and Morgan are a really glaring example of this, and one that I am personally very concerned about.
The jealousy factor. Because to be completely honest, and you brought this up, Morgan. You brought this up a few days ago. You said you were just in a moment of realness. You said one of the things you mentioned was Paul, you're out playing pickleball and I'm at home changing diapers. And to piggyback off that, let's just get even more real. Like, let's remove that Band-Aid. I want to hear you talk on the jealousy, if you will, jealousy factor, which I think is not uncommon, but also this just popped into my head a minute ago.
I'm scared.
The comments that I'm seeing now among our haters and trolls of Paul is not working to provide for his family. He's just out playing pickleball all the time.
All day, every day.
Here is another video showing their days, and I don't see how Paul doesn't see how their days could not be more different when he's mashing them up and editing this together. How doesn't he look at this and go, okay, so I wake up and Morgan's already been up with the kids and made them breakfast. Then I make my own breakfast and go do a Bible study alone. Morgan is watching the kids and cleaning up our house from the night before. Then I go play pickleball and Morgan is filming and making money for our family. Then I go do more devotions at the local sandwich shop, which I get to eat out, and Morgan is making food for us and dinner for me, because I won't be home for dinner and neither will she, but I still deserve a home-cooked meal. Like, I'll just let you guys watch for yourselves, but it just, as we continue to go on, the more disturbing it gets.
What did we do for the first time last night that we haven't done in 3 months?
We slept in the same bed. In the same room.
Was it weird?
It was lovely.
Oh, I feel like it was too.
So when we first came home from the hospital with Judah, me, Judah, and Paul were all in our bedroom. And Luca was obviously in his bedroom. I just felt like it was a lot harder having Paul in the bed because I just wanted to know that Paul was getting a good night of sleep so that during the day he could take care of Luca very well and he could take care of me so I could take care of Judah. And I just knew that like he is not sleeping very well because we were waking up many times. I told him go sleep in our guest room, which is Judah's room. And then literally it just lasted 3 months.
It has been fascinating, this journey. I feel like I'm learning so much. The mental side is huge.
It's been an interesting morning. I just really don't like it when my kids don't sleep, you know? And so I'm exhausted. And then this morning, he just doesn't want to take his morning nap.
Finished up both drilling sessions, and I'll be honest, my body is feeling it. I still got to go to the gym and work out, get the anaerobic, the muscles going. So I'm going to go grab something that just gives me a little energy boost, a little sugar boost. Small strawberry banana smoothie, please. It's hitting the spot and replenishing me before I go work out.
Trying to vacuum literally for days now and just like have not found a time, and so finally I'm like, okay, I have got to do this. So we're vacuuming our house right now because it's healthy. But I am so tired. And I think I've been like fighting off some sickness or another because my lower back and my neck and my shoulders are all just so achy for no reason. Like I work out, but I didn't even work out on Wednesday, so.
Guys, you can see that the hair has been fixed. I like to go to Shalotsky's, funny enough. I do social media work for a local small business, so today I'll be editing and posting some content for them. And then I'm gonna do my devotions. But honestly, it is go time.
I'm still not feeling incredible, so that's a bummer. Okay, well, that did not go the way that I was hoping. I was hoping that I would get into the gym and start stretching and just feel a lot better, but I feel terrible right now. Dizzy. My body is aching. I'm so frustrated. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
But today, around midday, it was stuff with the kids. Morgan started not feeling amazing. And I became super rushed to head to Louisville. Just being real with you guys, we're still kind of in the midst of it, but we're getting it figured out. Like, I can tell we're on the up and ups, even though it still doesn't feel amazing. Morgan and our communication started getting rocky. just about 20 minutes ago, as we continue our drive, we've been working through the stuff. Morgan, anything else you want to add in this moment of realness and reconciliation?
Have we reconciled? We were supposed to go bowling afterwards. As soon as we sat down at the restaurant, started just shaking with chills. I was freezing. I still can't feel my fingertips on my right hand. I was just shaking the whole time. It's like the Advil that I took earlier just like wore off, and it just came in full force ahead, full steam ahead. Oh my goodness. I'm like still shivering. I have goosebumps. Paul gave me his shirt.
Once again, it's Paul at the end who says that everything's fine. And when they're in the car together, Morgan even is like, did we reach a good point? Did we make up? Did we reconcile? Paul just shoves the camera in her face. But let's go on. I'll show you guys even more how pickleball is just destroying their freaking lives from the inside out, man. You'd think with all of the devotional time that Paul is spending with the Lord, that the Lord would pass him the message that his wife needs some fucking help.
Just keeping it real talk. I'm about a week and a half shy of the 5-month mark from when I started training very intensely in the pursuit of going pro, playing at the highest level. And I think I'm seeing still a bigger gap between myself and these highest level players, a bigger gap than I anticipated at this time. Guessing, and there was, I guess, some educated guessing, but you know, how fast would I climb and how big a gap was there, and there still is a gap, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that wasn't a little discouraging. And now I'm about to go play this tournament, again at this 5-0 open level. Maybe it was naive, probably was, and I guess a lot of people embark on something big with some naivety, and that's not always a bad thing, or else who would ever embark on a journey of greatness in anything, because it's going to be difficult. And I suppose it's probably going to take more time than most of us anticipate. So in some respects, it does feel a little bit like a crossroads of like, okay, Paul, you said 6 months of really hard training, and you hope to be kind of breaking in, finding some traction, some success at this higher level, and you're not quite there. So what needs to be done? Where do I go from here? And so I'm figuring that out with my wife, Morgie, and just looking at life and finances and time frames. I'm not throwing in the towel, but I am having to do some reassessing, I think. I'm seeing good things happen. I'm seeing improvement from my training, but there still is this gap that it's going to take some time. In the coming months, I guess there will need to be another jump from me just in my success, my skill development. We'll keep you guys posted.
Despite Paul's continued pickleball efforts, he does surpass this timeline without any wins. It actually seems like Morgan does better in the competitions than Paul does. And he still keeps going. To this day, it's December 16th right now as I'm filming this, and Paul is still doing pickleball full time. So I don't know what happened to the 6-month plan, or if he just really, this is like an ego hit and he can't accept that he might not be able to go pro, or at least not at a level that would support his family. I don't even know what to say. Frankly, it's disappointing to see him not kind of mentally catching up to where all of the audience is at, and that he's not stepping up as a husband, because Morgan starts to have more and more issues at this point. I'm so sorry that I keep using clips of Paul's mom in the hot tub, but she did give this advice to young women about dating, and given who Paul is now, because this was years before he ever started doing pickleball, it just cracks me up, and I'm going to show you before we get into Morgan's continued health problems.
Question for my mom. What is the number one thing a young lady should look for in a man? Go, Mom! Bum-ba-da-dum.
You want somebody who completely loves the Lord, but also to show that he rejects the world.
Give me some examples.
In sports, if he's obsessed with sports, run.
Ouch!
Yes. Amen. Amen,
Oh
sister.
no! She's hitting the hot spots.
So that would be one that a typical guy makes an idol out of.
I have been waking up at 5:30 in the morning to go to the gym, which I've been loving for the past month. I did my workout. It was a new workout that I had never done before, and felt great. I got the boys up from their naps and we headed down to a park that's close to us, and I felt this like pain in the back of my neck. It wasn't even my neck, it was like my skull. Later that evening, Paul and I are supposed to go out and play pickleball, and my neck, it wasn't my neck, I keep saying my neck, but my head, the base of my skull just kept hurting so bad. Like I couldn't really turn, but it didn't feel like times when I've tweaked my neck. It's weird.
We played a couple games and Morgan was
horribly.
She was playing really bad, and we ended up calling it. Really, it was supposed to be a date night.
Yeah.
We transitioned out of pickleball. So fast forward,
I play a pickleball tournament on that Saturday. I felt great. I didn't feel any pain, no headache of any kind. I win gold in that tournament. It's
incredible.
My second gold, baby.
It's incredible. Unfortunately, that's going to be your last. No.
Get home and my dad was building a swing set for Luca and Judah. So sweet. And he has to leave. He wasn't able to finish it, so I go out there and I finish it. I build a swing set.
Real quick, I'm sorry. Apologize. I was mowing while you were building the swing set, right?
Yes, babe.
For the haters, I was mowing. I'm pretty sure, right? Wasn't I?
You went and played pickleball.
Surely not.
Yeah. You were like, I'll mow another night.
That was when I went out and, I went and, because I got a text from some of the old friends.
Anywho.
I'm glad that we can laugh.
I gave him full permission to go, and I truly meant it. I was like, I'm going to have a nice, peaceful night out here building this swing set. We were going to go to a late church service around 11:15, and around 10:45, I was sitting here on the couch with Luca. Judah was taking a nap, and I was like, something's not right. Like, this is not a normal pain. It's not a neck pain. I don't know what this is, but it's just like shooting up into my face. My vision was like blacking out, like black spots. And so Paul came out of the bathroom or something, and I said, I need to go lay down. I passed out for 2 hours, woke up.
Not literally passed out.
I woke up and was like, I'm not okay. I have a horrific migraine. I don't know what's going on. This pain down here, I couldn't even touch around this area, or else it would just shoot. So we had actually our neighbor, who's a physical therapist, come over, and he kind of examined me. He's like, there's a lot of muscles that could when they're inflamed, they hit nerves. And he was like, that's the most common thing to happen here. But he basically afterwards was like, but if tomorrow you start experiencing other symptoms like throwing up or, vision blur, your face goes numb, you don't know where you are or whatever, go to the ER right away. So the next day I wake up and I'm like, okay, I think I feel okay. And then 10 minutes later it was like, no, you don't. It was horrible. I start vomiting. Late afternoon, I'm laying on the floor after vomiting, and I just start hysterically crying. It's so weird how I remember this, but I didn't know where I was. Paul had just been in the bathroom checking on me, asking me if I need anything. I said no, and 10 seconds later, I'm crying hysterically.
It was hard to know because, and she had talked about having a migraine. I was making some calls of what are symptoms of a bad migraine? If she tweaked her neck, now she's got a migraine. But she was saying where am I?
Went to the ER a little bit later, not immediately, but probably an hour later.
Hard to know when something has moved into we need to go to the ER, or when it's just
this is a really terrible migraine.
Yeah, and you're just gonna have to stick it out because this unfortunately happens. I'm talking to my brother, and he's like, I'm pretty sure it's, shout out to my brother, he's awesome, but he's like, I'm pretty sure it's sun poisoning.
Mom arrived, she knew that I was in a lot of pain. She came over and she was like, all right, it's time to go to the hospital. So we went, my mom took me. Paul stayed back with the boys. I'm in so much pain. I'm like in the bathroom on my knees at the ER, like trying to throw up again. But we come home and my mom ordered like a mobile IV nurse to come, and she gave me fluids and she gave me some like anti-inflammation that was supposed to help with headaches. And I just like was out for the rest of the night.
Again, not actually passed out.
Yeah. I just was sitting on the couch like just kind of delirious and so much pain. We were actually going to go to urgent care, so that's what we did. You're going to have to go back to the hospital. So Paul called and they're like, there's no wait right now. So we got there, they got us right in.
Interesting and fascinating. So we go in, he's sitting down with Morgan, and he ends up saying, all right, based off of the symptoms you've described, that I'm very confident that you have a bad neck tweak. That's what I thought too, doctor. She has a bad neck tweak, sunburn, migraine, and here's her symptoms. He was like, I'm, what did he say, 99% sure? I'm like, praise the Lord. That's what we wanted to hear. So I head out because I was in 30-minute parking.
Waiting for Paul to come back. He was like, is your partner here with you? Were you here with someone? And I was like, yeah, he's just parking. Like, it's taking him a while to find a spot. He's like, okay, yeah, definitely tell him to come back. So got your CT results and you have a vertebral artery dissection.
This young doctor couldn't have been more than 35, comes up and, you know, it's just this heavy, like, what is our life about to look like?
Yeah.
And she comes up and ultimately says she was like Indian, and I'm not gonna
say that.
Well, sometimes I like to try to do accents. You know, you're not gonna want to pick up your kids anymore. And so of course my initial reaction, because that's one of the things, is like, she can't be lifting more than 10 pounds for 6 weeks. So I'm like, okay, you know, after 6 weeks she can get back into. And she just comes up and pretty much point blank says, you're not going to want to lift up your kids anymore. Okay, like how long before she can pick up her, you know,
like
her baby.
10-month-old baby.
Kind of like reprimanded me and said, that is not a question you should be asking. It could be, because even when this heals, it could re-tear. And one of the doctors said, I feel like this could be a hereditary syndrome called
VEDS, vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. He's like, I feel very confident that that's what this is. He's like, I want to rule it out. We want to rule it out, obviously, because it could have just been a fluke accident. Prevent you from having like organs just rupture for no reason down the road.
This is where the audience is very concerned, and this is about where we're at today. We don't really have more information on what's going on with their health, but let me particularly talk about some of the direct issues that have happened because of what they've put out on their channel and how they've responded to it. So I'm going to give you some of those clips now, and then we'll kind of talk more about this at the end while we wrap all of this up.
One of the accusations is like, you guys are just, how dare you overshare? Or kind of like, you're oversharing and it's just gone off the deep end, and Paul wants to film everything. And in my mind, here's what I'm thinking. We film these vlogs, we upload them to the internet. If there's an opportunity in filming that where something real and deep and vulnerable happens, in my mind, I'm like, and I'm looking for an opportunity to go deep, to go deep with you guys and to show real sides of life that aren't squeaky clean.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because most of the times on our YouTube channel, whenever it's like being real and raw, it's usually me. I'm the one breaking down. I'm the one having a moment. I'm the one. Paul's just sitting there like, this is
let it out, babe. Let it out.
Yeah. Everyone can calm down. But yes, you can be emotionally distant, and
you've known that for a while.
Yeah, I've literally known that for the 10 years that we've basically been together. So you've gotten a lot better.
To be like, you've known that I was emotionally distant, that does not help me feel better about it. They dated for 4 months before they got engaged, so no, Morgan and Paul really didn't know what they were fully getting into with this marriage. Oh, this was a long one, you guys, and I've never thought about Paul and Morgan so much in my life, but I hope that this gave you some additional insight into who they are and what they're all about and why people are upset with them. Hopefully this gives you some insight so when the Netflix documentary happens someday, you have the context. But I do want to say that I do wish Morgan and, I guess Paul too, but really Morgan the best. I am concerned about her health. I'm concerned about her mental health. I'm concerned about her spiritually. I'm concerned about Morgan, and a lot of other people in the comment section are too, because it's hard to watch. It feels like we are watching religious or spiritual abuse. We're watching emotional abuse happen, and it's all happening in the name of God and publicly. It's hard to watch without saying something about it. Did you guys learn anything new through this video? Let me know in the comments below what you think about Paul and Morgan. Do you think that there's something wrong here, or do you agree with their viewpoints and the clips that I showed you? If you want to support my channel, please subscribe or double check to make sure that you are subscribed if you're not already. Like this video, and if you want to comment but you don't know what to say, you can always comment a bird down below because that's my logo, and I'll probably respond back to you with a white heart. If you want to support me even further, the best way to do that right now is to become a member to my channel. You'll get priority comment responses, but even more than that, you get access to videos that are a lot more personal about my life and my spiritual journey, where I'm at today or what's led me here. And then I also give you guys access to the videos before everybody else does. It's where I really get your opinions, your insight, and I show you guys the videos first because I want to make sure that it's as good as possible. So you guys are the hive mind, my channel members. Thank you to those of you who already are. It makes a huge difference, and you really are supporting me as a small channel, so thank you so much. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Now we want to go even deeper with you guys. We have become certified facilitators for an awesome premarital counseling program. And we want to walk you and your person one-on-one with the two of us, I guess that's 2-on-2.
Yep.
2-on-2 through your premarital counseling to help you all have a healthier, godlier marriage.